Hey there, I'm Dr. Philip Edgcumbe, and I am a co-founder of the collective open source medical innovations for COVID-19 organization, and I'm joined by Stanley for this discussion that we're going to have today. Hey, Stanley.
Hey.
So our mission at the collective open source medical innovations for COVID-19 organization is to create abundant access to medical equipment in BC and around the world through open source design solutions. COSMIC is a team of over 130 volunteer students, engineers, doctors, makers, and designers from Vancouver and the global community. We've been fortunate to raise over $130,000 from donations and from the Roche Canada COVID-19 Open Innovation Challenge. And our first priority is to help in the global response to COVID by designing and building low-cost ventilators, respiratory support equipment, such as non-invasive positive pressure ventilation helmets, and personal protective equipment. And I'm just going to share my screen quickly so that I can show off some of the incredible work that we've been able to do. This is the low-cost ventilator. This is our clinical respiratory support system to provide positive pressure ventilation and oxygen to patients that potentially have COVID-19. And this is our bubble helmet. So we have lots of exciting projects on the go. But the focus of today's meeting is really for us, Stanley and I, to have a chat. And so I'm here with Stanley, and he's been a member of COSMIC since it was started in March 2020. He's been a co-lead for the public relations and fundraising team at COSMIC, as well as our international outreach team co-lead. So Stanley has been a super dedicated volunteer at COSMIC, almost dedicating his full-time energy to the project, and we're super grateful for all that you've done for COSMIC, Stanley. It's really been incredible to see you work. But as I understand it, you're now at a stage where you're reducing your involvement with COSMIC and focusing on some of the other priorities in your life. And so as such, we decided, you and me, that we'd get together and do this interview and have a chat because first I'd like to thank you, but also like to get an update from you about what's coming up next in your life. And it's also a cool opportunity for you and I to reflect on where COSMIC is at 6 months into its existence and where it's going. So Stanley, it's great to see you. And why don't you start by introducing yourself?
Sure. So I'm based in Vancouver, BC, and I graduated at the University of British Columbia with a degree in electrical engineering. I'm well-versed in business and government policy and interested in contributing to global challenges of our time, doing disruptive things like addressing the pandemic recently and for the foreseeable future, and longer-term interests with climate change and energy.
Yeah, and I would say I think you've really had been able to contribute in a big way at COSMIC. I'm just going to share my screen again so that I can show off our website that we have, and people can learn more by visiting cosmicmedical.ca. One of the really cool things is that all of our open source project designs are now available on GitHub that anyone in the world can check out and actually see how we've built the bubble helmet, the G-vent, the snorkel mask, the clinical respiratory support equipment. You can learn a lot more via our website, and people can join the international outreach. They can learn about our projects, they can donate, et cetera, et cetera. But what I wanted to do now, Stanley, was just touch base with you to get a sense of what does success look like for COSMIC as you think about our organization. What does success look like?
Well, it's basically the combination of our engineering, design, and testing work benefiting millions of COVID-19 patients around the world by manufacturers being able to pick up our ready-made designs and building devices for those patients. Clinical trial work with our bubble helmet changes the treatment pathway for COVID-19 as we show that positive pressure ventilation with our bubble helmet actually can keep the patients off of ventilators, and specifically intubation, where people are sedated and having a tube shoved down their throat We recently got Health Canada approval for a multi-center Canadian clinical trial to test our bubble helmet for COVID-19 patients. And we've also created a supportive and inclusive community, providing an opportunity for people to network, upskill, meet each other, and do meaningful work.
Yeah, I really couldn't have said it better myself, Stanley. I love that. So just to recap kind of three things: our open source designs picked up around the world by manufacturers so that millions of COVID-19 patients actually get treatment through the design work that we're doing, clinical trials to come up with new strategies for treating COVID-19 and creating this supportive and meaningful community. Those are all great metrics for success. And thank you again for helping us to make important progress across all of those kind of goals or areas of success that we're targeting at Cosmic. So you've done a lot of work, and we'll talk a little bit more about your various contributions, whether it was in public relations, outreach, fundraising. But before doing that, what's coming up next for you? What are you focusing on now in your life?
Well, in the shorter term, I'm open to helping small businesses adapt to basically get through COVID, get through the pandemic. But in the longer term, I am looking to do something. Well, I'm looking to help disruptors within the climate change and environmental energy space with the combination of my background, specifically formal training in electrical engineering, as well as my passion in business development and strategy.
That sounds great, and I would say, you know, you've at Cosmic, we're disruptors in a sense, in that we are open sourcing designs for biomedical engineering products, and you've really helped us with your understanding of the technical engineering side of our devices, but also of government policy, opportunities for fundraising, finding important stakeholders to achieve our mission. You've really done that very effectively with Cosmic, and we're the better for it. And so I could certainly see, as you move forward and focus your energy on helping companies as they get through COVID-19, as you've helped Cosmic, you'll have great success there. And also go, you know, looking a little bit further on, quite rightly so, the real challenge of our times is this global pandemic, but the ultimate kind of existential threat that I think we're facing as a species is climate change. So super stoked to hear that that's where you're going to be dedicating your time and energy going forward. Within the climate change world, are there various, you know, it's a big kind of catch-all area. Are there particular kind of subdomains that have caught your interest?
Well, the ones that caught my attention so far include data analytics, including machine learning with respect to energy usage. There's also disruptors in the energy storage space and circular economy, although I suspect that there are going to be many other fields that are coming forward that changes the way we live in order to give us a better chance to survive.
Yeah, lots of interesting domains there. And I think something that I've admired about you is that you're really thoughtful about making sure that the work that you're doing is something that you're passionate about. And I certainly saw that in the context of COVID-19 and Cosmic. And certainly from the time that I've got to spend with you, I really understand that you're passionate about all of those areas within climate change. So kudos to you for really building that kind of passion and meaning-driven career. So let's change gears a little bit and talk a little bit more about Cosmic and where we're at and where we're going with it. So let me just start by asking you, what inspired you to join Cosmic back in March 2020?
Well, as the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 to be a pandemic, many local businesses and offices were shut down uh, to respond as a response, and as a result, the opportunity of whatever I was doing in terms of temporary employment dwindled, and I just thought maybe I should do something useful at the time. So through some search, that's how I came across Cosmic.
And I remember getting your email. This was back in March, saying that you were interested in getting involved, and we knew each other from our engineering days and even some political advocacy work we'd done around Bill C-51. And I was so grateful because you were really one of the very first people to join Cosmic, and you were already well read on the issue and had identified some of the opportunities for contribution locally and some of the challenges that we were going to come up and face. So it kind of gave me the sense that that we could actually do this, that there were people like yourself that were willing to volunteer and step up and contribute. And so that was really meaningful to have you kind of jump in at such an early stage. I think really you were, I would say, that after the co-founders, one of the very first people to get involved. So I certainly remember how you came to join, and that was really really good, and at a critical stage in our growth of Cosmic. So as someone that was really part of Cosmic since the very beginning, you took on some fairly significant roles within the organization. You were the co-lead for the public relations and fundraising team. And then as our work developed and it became apparent that we had some really great designs that we could share with organizations and manufacturers around the world, you took on the role of co-lead for international outreach. So why don't you tell me a bit more about those positions and some of the big wins that you're proud of?
Sure. So my role, what I did at Cosmic was pretty wide spanning. So with respect to the PR and fundraising side, we've basically increased the group's visibility through our arts club tours and for video production of our projects. We've managed to get featured by practically every media outlet in the Vancouver area. Like we got on the front page of the Vancouver Sun, Global TV covered us a few times. The Chinese media like Fairchild and Omni covered us. The newspapers like Singtao and Mingpao, they also covered us. We also got onto Georgia Strait, I think Burnaby now as well, and we hosted a few like dignitaries, like a few elected officials, like also checked out our prototypes, notably like David Eby, who we've managed to get introduced to a very important contact for our international outreach for one of our prototypes, and George Chow as well. And we've also got onto a Zoom call with MP Hetty Fry. In terms of fundraising, we're one of the 7 teams out of the 847 applicants who won the Roche grant, which is $100,000 Canadian, which is very helpful for us to get our gravity ventilator project to the finish line of publishing in the open source space. And also with international outreach, we've built a lot of like important relationships with others to mobilize, who are also mobilizing and addressing the pandemic around the world.
I think that's really incredible. And just to give people a sense of how involved that was, you know, our public relations and fundraising team probably grew to a group of about 15 volunteers. And we were having weekly and even at some times, you know, meeting, I would say almost several times per week. And we had contributors from many different organizations. And so there was a lot of kind of management of meetings and volunteers that you had to do, which you did a really good job of, and was also a lot of work. But I was able to attend many of those meetings, and it was very impressive to see. Now, I just wanted to share my screen again just so that I can show off some of the incredible public relations work that came out of your time as co-lead of our PR and fundraising team. This is the Cosmic website. You can see we were picked up by the Vancouver Sun, Global News, and here are some of the screenshots of the various organizations that, I mean, the list goes on: Daily Hive, Vancouver Prostate Center, Georgia Strait, that were involved in covering the important work that Cosmic is and was doing. And then on top of that, you can see that we've really, as public relations, not only have we been able to reach out to a lot of organizations and share our story, our vision, our mission, and recruit volunteers, recruit donors, recruit potential collaborators through that work. But we were, you know, as within public relations, you were also responsible for kind of managing and overseeing our branding. We were very lucky to have Catherine, you know, I'm going to struggle to say her last name, Catherine Witjaki, I think, who is one of our leads for the graphic design. And you can see we've done some beautiful work. And the website was also something that fell under kind of the responsibility of the public relations team. So great work there, Stanley, and fundraising too. With regards to international outreach, I was pretty, you know, impressed at some of the meetings that you were able to set up and potential collaborations set up. What were some of the countries that you, for which you met change makers from in the context of international outreach?
Well, we've managed to get a few doctors using our designs, like snorkel mask, like a PPE alternative design in Brazil. We're talking to a manufacturer in India right now with respect to our bubble helmet prototype. As you know, COVID-19 cases is very serious over there, second to the United States. Other than that, we've also gotten connected to certain groups in Cameroon and Mali. We've also connected to a few groups in Bolivia and Peru and El Salvador. Very similar challenges with respect to oxygen supply, as we found out through our international outreach in many different cases, although it to varying degrees.
And I think the great thing about international outreach is it's opened up those conversations for our engineering teams and us to learn from them, learn what the challenges are kind of on the front lines in those countries. And we've also been fortunate through that outreach to get some really impressive experts and guests that have joined our monthly update meetings, including we had Ben Coombs from, it's the Oxygen Concentrator Project, is that right, Stanley?
Yeah, I think he's one of the leaders who are working on oxygen concentrators along with Adi Otian.
Yeah.
May have butchered his last name. And last month, or just this past week, we've also hosted Mike Paddock, who normally he's doing water development infrastructure work with Engineers Without Borders in the US. Although abroad, although he's taken a sabbatical leave to advise the United Nations Development Program on dealing with COVID-19 fallouts.
Yeah, and who do we have coming up in November as in the context of that came out of your international outreach?
Respira Works, they are an open source ventilator team who was one of the finalists of the COVID-19 challenge. They're affiliated with the Massachusetts General Hospital System. It's one of those solutions contest.
Yeah, that's awesome. And as I think back to some of the international outreach you've done, we had Mike Paddock come and speak just a week ago at our monthly update meeting. And one of the real action items that I think came out of his presentation was a heads up to our engineering teams about the UN agency's Tech Access Partnership Program, which is a platform which connects engineers and designers with local producers in hard-hit COVID-19 areas. And so I think that's an example of how international outreach can really leverage and scale the work that we're doing. And so big kudos and thanks for doing that, and just being that super node in a sense in the open sourcing network, where you've been kind of managing the outward and inward flow of information from our engineering teams to other open source organizations and kind of COVID-19 engineers around the world. So great work, whether it was in public relations, whether it was in fundraising, or whether it was in international outreach. I really think you have a lot to be proud of, and a lot for us at Cosmic to thank you for. So thank you again, Stanley. So now, as we kind of wrap up or are getting to the end of our chat, I just wanted you to think back to your 6 months at Cosmic and the really kind of dynamic community that we've become, and I just wanted to get your sense about what do you think contributed to our success as a community that's been able to raise $100,000 and develop designs for biomedical devices for treating COVID-19?
Well, I think it's a combination of the engineering, clinical, and the business expertise. Most organizations out there are usually short of like at least one of those pillars.
Yeah, so we've brought together engineers, clinicians, business experts, and it's kind of at the interface of all of those disciplines where we've been able to make our most progress, in the sense that, I mean, for example, let's say our engineers did great work developing our bubble helmet, but the original motivation to develop the bubble helmet, positive pressure ventilation for COVID-19 patients, came from active engagement with our clinical partners. I'm sure you remember back in March and April, we were having doctors from the Vancouver General Hospital ICU join our design calls, and they highlighted the importance of positive pressure ventilation. So that clinical insight helped our engineers find a project that was really important. But then along the way, we needed business expertise because we needed to partner with manufacturers. And we've been able to do that. Several different Canadian manufacturers have actually joined our effort to kind of augment the engineering and clinical know-how to actually build these devices. And as we roll out our clinical trial for bubble helmets across Canada, multi-center clinical trial, we will be working with a manufacturer that's going to be designing close, and well, not designing, but actually manufacturing close to 100 of these medical devices. So it's that I do really agree with you, that engineering, clinical, business expertise, and I think even at times creative kind of artistic side as well, in that we've had contributors from the Faculty of Arts and graphic designers that have really helped to tell our story. And I think you've been a big part of that through the public relations side of Cosmic. So just to sum it all up, you know, you have been a critical leader within Cosmic and a leader in what has become a pan-Canadian COVID response. And so what is your message to our fellow Canadians? Kind of closing message.
Well, regardless of their background, they can do something to facilitate humanitarian aid, even if it's over Zoom or over their favorite web conferencing tool.
Yeah, and there is space and an opportunity for everyone to contribute. So that's a great message. Just closing comment from me is, if any of this was of interest to you as someone watching this, please check us out at www.cosmicmedical.ca to learn more about this organization that Stanley has been a big part of creating. And also to recap, Stanley is looking for opportunities within kind of to apply his skills within the climate change, clean energy domain. So please feel free to reach out to him directly via Cosmic or email or LinkedIn. And hopefully he can help with you in terms of assisting your own work as he's done here at Cosmic. And in honor of Dr. Bonnie Henry, I think we can end by saying be kind, be calm, be safe. And especially because I believe that it was only today or very recently, we're now in October 2020, that the second wave of COVID-19 was officially declared here in BC. And so this is a critical time. And I believe Cosmic's work will continue to benefit Canadians and people around the world until this pandemic is put to rest. So Stanley, it's been great to chat. I love the creative bent that you bring to your work and even this interview. And I'm sure that we'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
All right, over and out.